Hi guys, welcome to my channel. For my very first video, I'm going to show you this fall glam look with a glitter eye using my Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette. If you guys like this look, please continue to watch. If you haven't already, please subscribe down below. I'll also link my other social medias down there if you'd like to follow me on another form. If you guys have any recommendations or constructive criticism, please leave it down below. Comments are always welcome. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and let's get started. Alright, so jumping right in, before I filmed, I colored in my eyebrows and I primed my face. To fill in my eyebrows, I used my L'Oreal Paris Brow Stylist Definer, and it comes with a little spoolie on it. I am the shade Dark Brunette. And then to prime my face, I used the E.L.F. Poreless Face Primer. So I'm going to go ahead and put on my foundation. This is like my holy grail of foundations. This is the Becca Ultimate Coverage Complexion Cream. It looks like this. This is amazing coverage. I have a lot of redness and sometimes even dryness in my face, so this foundation will cover that all up. It has a little pump on it, and you only need about 2 to 2.5 pumps to cover your entire face and neck. So I'm going to just put some on my finger and dab this all over. I use like little half pumps just to get the amount that I want on my face. To buff that in, I am using my Ulta buffing brush. I prefer brushes over beauty blenders because I feel that they don't absorb as much product. I feel like beauty blenders just take too much product from my face. So I'm going to go ahead and start buffing this in. I start with like little patting motions and then I'll do circles. Moving on to concealer, I am going to be using my Maybelline New York Instant Age Rewind Eraser Dark Circles. This normally does come with a little sponge on the top. I pull the sponge off. I feel that it again just absorbs too much product, and it has a little applicator on it like this, and you just turn it and some will come out, and I just dab that underneath my eyes. To blend in my concealer, I oftentimes just use my fingers. I feel that it gives it a more seamless finish. Now I am going to put my concealer on my eyelids as well. I use this as a base for my eyeshadow. I don't invest in eyeshadow primers or anything of that nature because concealer does the job just fine. So I'm going to also just kind of put one little dab on my eyelids. And again, just buff that out with my finger. To set my under eye and eyelids, I'm going to be using my Airspun loose face powder. This is the shade Translucent Extra Coverage. And I just tip it over, put some in the top like so. Now, to set this under my eyes and on my eyelids, I am going to use a dampened beauty blender. I find that this does give it a more seamless and flawless finish, and the beauty blender is able to get into the creases of my eye, like in the inner corners. I'm going to use my finger to just make sure that it hasn't creased already. A couple dabs. And place this all under the eye. Now I have set under my eyes and on top of my lids using my dampened beauty blender, and I use patting motions instead of wiping motions. Wiping motions will make that concealer move. I'm also going to set in the creases of my mouth and my chin as well as my forehead because those are the places that I crease. I'm going to go back in with my brush just to work out those creases, make sure they're not already creased. Again, picking up that translucent powder and using patting motions to place the powder where I want it to go. Now while that bakes in, I'm going to go ahead and begin on my eyes. I am using my Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette. I did lose the little insert that goes in there. I wish that they would have wrote the names on the packaging, or at least on the back, but I'm going to show you guys all the colors that I'm using because you might not have this palette, so you might have a comparable color. I am going for a fall look, so I'm going to be using these warm tones here. Now, the first color on your eye should always be the lightest color. I am going to use the third color in the palette. It's kind of like a creamy color, and it's not much darker than my skin. I'm going to use a blending brush. This is a blending brush that I got in one of my Ipsy bags. I absolutely recommend Ipsy to anyone trying to build their makeup collection or become more comfortable with makeup. It's $10 a month. You get 5 products, and they're, you know, sometimes Smashbox, Tarte, and even sometimes you get some off-brand names that you've never heard of. Like this is a LAB squared just blending in brush. Never heard of this brand, but this brush is now one of my absolute favorites. So I'm again going to use this third color in the palette here, and I'm going to get a generous amount, and I'm going to put this in my transition shade, which is the point where your eye creases, and it's a little bit above it. And I'm going to put this, I'm going to begin in the outer corner, but I'm going to work into some windshield wiper motions to get that in. Now the reason that you want to place it on the outer corner and blend it toward the inside is because if you just start with windshield wiper motions, you'll have a lot of fallout, and the inside of your eye can begin to look a little cakey. Now I started with the windshield wiper, and now I'm using small circular motions, and this will just blend it out with the top of your eye and the bottom so that there are no harsh lines. Now to start giving our eyes some dimension and depth, I'm going to go in with a little bit of a darker color. I'm going to use the fourth color in the second row. This is kind of like a pukey, a more yellowy tone. I'm going to put that in the same transition area, but I'm going to go a little bit lower just to start building that dimension that we're looking for. And I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to start on the outer corner with tapping motions, work my way into windshield, and then blend. To start giving the outer corner of our eye a little bit of dimension, I'm going to use a pencil brush. This here is the Morphe M222 brush. And I'm going to use the shade right here in the bottom of the palette, and I'm going to place this on only the outer corner of our eye, and I'm going to use like patting motions so that this product stays exactly where I want it. Now we are going to do our best to keep this on the lid portion of our eye on the outer corner. We don't want to get this in the crease or the transition area, because now to give us a little more dimension, we're going to use the darkest shade of the day, which is going to be this super dark brown in the bottom of the palette. I'm going to use that same pencil brush, and I'm just going to vary like 1, 2, and I'm also going to use patting motions in the outer corner, and I'm going to focus this even more toward the outer end of our eye. Now for the fun part of our look, placing our glitter. I am going to use this golden glittery shade here, and I am going to be using this Ulta small eyeshadow brush. I learned this trick from Jaclyn Hill, especially for these foils in her palette. I'm going to pick up the product that I want, and I'm going to get a pretty generous amount so that it's very vivid on my brush. And I'm going to take some setting spray. You can use any setting spray for this. I've used NYX, I've used Maybelline, but just because I have it handy, I'm going to use my Urban Decay All Nighter Makeup Setting Spray. And I'm just going to dab on top of that shadow. And then I am going to use swiping motions to put this glitter only on our lid. Now, this is not as bright as I would like it, so I'm going to repeat those steps. Now, letting that dry a little bit, I'm going to pick up an even smaller pencil brush. This is the Morphe M41. I am going to use this brush to highlight my brow bone. I am going to be using the very first shade in the palette, and I'm just going to dab, dab. This is a very vivid shimmer, so I'm only going to get a little bit of it, and I'm just going to place that on our brow bone. Now, picking back up the very first brush that we used, our blending brush, I'm going to clean it off, make sure there's no product on it, and I'm going to blend out our first between our transition and our highlight. Then I'm going to clean it off and blend in our crease area to make sure that that glitter and that orangey color that we have there don't have any harsh lines. So I'm now going to grab a fluffy brush. This is the Morphe B47, and I'm just going to fluff off that powder that we had baking and also any of the fallout that we may have had from doing our eyes. Now, to set the rest of my face, I'm just going to use my ratty old powder puff and my translucent powder, and I'm just going to go all over with it. Now for my under eye, using the first pencil brush that we used, again the Morphe B22, I am going to mix the first two shades that we used, which were this color and this color here. Just gonna dab, 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 and I'm gonna use this pencil brush to apply it on my under eye. Using that same brush, I'm going to use the third color we picked up, which was this lighter brown kind of maroon shade, and I'm only going to place this on like the outer corner of our lower lash line to give our eye again some more dimension. Now using a smaller brush, this brush is kind of like a flat packing brush. This is the Morphe M416. I'm going to pick up that darkest shade that we used, which is this dark brown shade here. And I'm going to be very precise with where I put this, and I'm going to get this very close to the lower lash line to make it appear as though it is liner. For my top eyeliner, I am using this eyeliner that I just picked up from Forever 21. I would definitely recommend some of their products, like their eyeliner. They have this really great contour, blush, and highlighter kit that I used to get. Loved it. So I'm going to go ahead and line just a straight small line across, and this is black liner. I'm going to go ahead and pop on some false lashes. These are my Old Faithfuls, which is my Ardell Style 105 Glamours. Love these lashes. I bought them in a multi-pack. I think there were like 5 pairs, and they worked out great for me. So I went ahead and popped those on, and I'm just going to coat my lower lash line as well as my lashes with the false lash just to give them a seamless finish using my Loreal Voluminous Carbon Black. I'm going to go ahead and place this on the lashes. Excuse me. For the rest of my face, I'm going to start bronzing using my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. This is the shade Light Bronze. I got this from Manny MUA, so I'm going to go ahead and use my Morphe M49, and I'm going to use my bronzer to also contour at the same time. So just on my cheekbone, I'm going to work my way up toward the top of my ear. I'm also going to put this in kind of like a C shape in the hairline just to give our face a little more depth. For blush, I'm going to use this Jelly Pom Pom Cosmetics Caribbean Sun Bronzer Duo. I like this because it has kind of like a brown shade also with the pink. I'm not really big on pink rosy cheeks, so I like to mix these two, and it really gives a nice color. I am going to use my Real Techniques brush. This again is a very firm brush, and I kind of go back and forth with these just to mix them, and I'm going to very lightly dust this on the apples of my cheek. For highlight, I'm going to use my Makeup Forever again, and for this I'm going to use this E.Tools brush. I like this brush because it has kind of like a tapered end, so I can place this exactly where I want, but it is a bigger brush, so it takes a little bit less time. I'm going to dust this all over my cheeks. Yes. I'm also going to put a little bit above my eyebrow. Also going to get the tip of my nose and go down my nose a little bit. Now, I don't personally like to highlight my chin. I feel like it makes me look a little sweaty, a little dewy. I'm not really one for the dewy look because I do have oily skin, so eventually I get the dewy look anyway. For my lips, I'm going to go with a brown tone lip. I'm going to use my NYX lip liner. This is the shade Natural. Now that I've lined my lips, I'm going to use my Colourpop Cosmetics Satin Lip in the shade Strip. This to me is the perfect nude for my skin tone. It's not too pink, it's not too brown, and the satin formula is amazing. If you haven't tried Colourpop Cosmetics, I definitely recommend them. They're very affordable, great products. So here you have the final look. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe down below. And I can't wait to see you guys again. If you have any recommendations, feel free to let me know and I'll get those started for you guys. Thanks again for watching, guys.